And should the Celtics go all out to land him? Hey, Bill Belichick's doing some unconventional things. That's never happened before. We'll dive into his latest strange offseason activities. And who makes an NBA list and then doesn't put Michael Jordan number one? Say it with me, Nicholas Wright. That's who. We will have that adorable debate coming up in just a little bit. Good Monday morning, everyone. Welcome to a very special post-vacation edition of First Things First. Belichick doesn't need coordinators. Nick doesn't need Jordan at the top. Feels like a Monday, doesn't it, guys? Good to see you again. You're looking nice and tan.
Oh, nice great to see you. Hey, listen, Brew looks tan. Wilds looks shockingly not as tan. I don't know, is the Handsome Men Club have a rule against that? I'm a little surprised. Oh, no, well, then we got to fix Wilds. We got a lot to do today. Let's get right to it.
We only got 2 hours. We better. We got to start this morning with a report from Shams. Just 10 minutes ago, the Boston Celtics, get this, have offered Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a draft pick to the Brooklyn Nets for one Kevin Durant. Brooklyn said nope and is asking that any proposal include both Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, picks, and perhaps another rotational player. Woo! Great way to start this show. Broussard, I'll ask you, should the Boston Celtics go all in for Kevin Durant?
Absolutely, Jenna, without question. Now, that's assuming all in means anyone's available except for Jason Tatum. And I'm not saying Tatum's better than Durant, even though he outplayed him in the playoffs, but he is 24 years old. 24! He's been to 3 Eastern Conference Finals. And Kevin Durant, with his injuries over the last few years, I wouldn't give up Tatum for him. But everyone else, yes. Buy Jaylen, buy Marcus, buy picks. All right, and here's why, Nick. Because in Boston, it's not about being in the hunt. It's not about being an Eastern Conference finalist. It's not even about getting to the finals. It is about winning championships. And right now, as great as they were last year, I don't have them as the favorites in the East. I don't think most people have them as the favorites in the East. I got Milwaukee. If Brooklyn stays put and the team psychiatrist travels with them to games, they could be good. Brooklyn. Watch out for Philly and Miami. They're right there as well. I'm just saying, get the mind right and the rest will follow. So if I'm Boston, I'm trying to win right now. And if I've got Kevin Durant and Jason Tatum and then some of the other guys that play hard and defend, oh, yes, they are the favorites in the East and maybe in the entire league. So go for it. Absolutely, go for it.
Well, listen, you said a lot there I agree with. The only thing I might disagree with is you said the Boston Celtics are about one thing, winning championships. Well, I mean, they've won one championship since the Reagan administration, so I'm not certain if they've really been that about it. However, with that said, I understand your general point. We go back far enough in history, and they were once upon a time about championships. Now they're really more about being in the hunt. So, I think I can thread the needle for you, Wilds, because they offered Brown and White. The Nets want Brown, Smart, and other stuff. I think Brown plus Time Lord and at 3 picks might get it done. No. And I think if you're the Nets, it's like, oh, a young defensive-minded center. We had that once upon a time, but we traded him because we had to get DeAndre Jordan minutes. And so you can undo that move. You can get Brown. You do all this. So I think maybe this trade actually does get done at some point. But Bruce said something I agree with, but I want to throw to you, which is the Jason Tatum question. Because the simple trade is Kevin Durant for Jason Tatum. Now, because of salaries, you'd have to throw in like Grant Williams and Sam Hauser, but it would essentially be 1-for-1. No picks, you know what I mean? Our budding superstar for your current superstar, we get the better player, you get the longer runway. And the reason people don't want to do that, and the reason I even had Tatum as one of the 10 guys that I wouldn't trade straight up for Kevin Durant, is because of the age. But I was listening to your buddy Bill Simmons' podcast when he did his trade value thing. And it was a really good, aside from the fact he had LeBron 35th, it was a really good overall exercise. But he kept saying something that made me kind of pause, which was he also had Mobley super high and Edwards super high. And he also had some, Chet really high. And he kept saying, well, I'm not trading 15 years of player X for 3 years of Kevin Durant. And here's why I bring it up. 15 years of player X is not a thing anymore. Jason Tatum's got 3 years left on his deal. You know how long that means Jason Tatum's guaranteed to be in Boston? About a year and a half. I'm not saying Jason Tatum's going to demand a trade, but in today's NBA, with the player mobility and with the guys demanding trade within contracts moving around, is it possible we are overvaluing a guy's youth because the assumption had been, well, his career will be spent in one place? Says who? For Dirk, Duncan, and Kobe, yes. For everybody else, no. So I wouldn't do Tatum for KD, but I am softening that a bit because I've been thinking about Tatum for the next 10 years, but it might be that the Celtics would have KD for the next 3 years, Tatum for the next 3 years, and then he leaves. So who would you rather have? So you're the Celtics fan. I'm curious how all this lands with you.
Okay, so I'm a basketball fan, and I occasionally root for the Celtics. And when I am rooting for the Celtics, Broussard, you know what I'm interested in? Championships. I'm not interested in, 3 Eastern Conference Finals. Okay, thanks. I would make the KD for Tatum move immediately. To the point where, if you read Woj's article, the fact that he's like, Tatum's off the board. And are we sure he's off the board? Or are we just saying he's off the board? And I know it's like, well, like Nick said, longer runway. I also think KD's game is going to age like a fine wine, like a fine Lobos tequila, which is top 5 tequilas I just read on LeBron's Instagram. Congratulations. So I think his game is going to age beautifully. So, maybe it's 3 years. Maybe it's 5 years. A 7-foot guy who can just nail mid-range jumpers. Yeah, I think that's going to translate. So, Broussard, if you are actually about going all in and winning championships, then I think you should be with me and say, yeah, include Tatum. Do Tatum for KD because that is the championship move.
No, I wouldn't do it. Look, Kevin Durant, again, I still think he's better than Jason Tatum, but his health, he played 35 games, 55 games each of the last 2 seasons. I can't be certain about KD. You're right. His game will age well, but will his body age well? And so I am not doing that but here's a twist on what you're saying. If I'm the Nets, I'm not doing this.